Okay, so my job is actually pretty easy today. This is not going to be your typical panel of just, back and forth banter. We have, I think we're a little ahead on the slides there, but we have 3 different speakers for you that are going to be doing about 10 minutes each on a certain different topic. And that topic is around underlying technology that you're going to see in sales probably very soon, and at least will be the future of sales in the very short, near future. And we're talking about bots and interfaces that allow you to work through your sales stack. You can give it there. Allow you to work through your kind of stack of technology and sales that connects to your CRM, whether that be Salesforce or something else, that allows you to have one interface to get all that information. We're going to talk about data mining. We're going to talk about machine learning, artificial intelligence, and ways to understand people that you're interacting with before even having a conversation with them. So without any further delay, I'm going to introduce Dan Reich, co-founder and CEO of Troops, Fallon Fatemi, founder and CEO of Node, and Drew DeAgostino, founder and CEO of Crystal. Come on up, guys. And I'm going to let Dan take it away. He's going to be our first one up.
Can you guys hear me? Am I mic'd up? Cool. All right, good. I'm Dan, as Max said. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Troops. And what we're going to talk about today is something we call conversational CRM. It's this idea that moving forward, you'll be able to talk to your computer, to your technology that's going to help you with your job. And so if we take a step back, who would have thought that we would have gone from this? You literally walk into your computer, the size of a room, to this. Computer the size of a soda can that you can sit on your counter and ask it questions. In many ways, we should have saw this coming. We could thank our movie star friends for that, right? We had C-3PO and R2-D2 running around the galaxy helping Luke save the universe from his father. We had Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar running around the universe with his buddy marine robot Tars, telling it jokes and flying its spaceship. And we have Iron Man and his buddy robot Jarvis helping him with everything from controlling his home to controlling his suit. And in the real world, we have real-life Iron Man, Elon Musk, inventing self-driving autonomous cars, launching rockets into space, landing them on floating barges in the middle of the ocean. And yet back in the real world, where we spend over a third of our lives, arguably more, a third of our lives doing work, we use software to manage mission-critical information, and the software we use still looks like this. Now, this is incredibly important software. It's why we're here today. Companies like Salesforce and others have built systems, processes, technologies that let us manage all of our customer information, revenue, relationships, so that we can move our business forward and increase shareholder value. Whether it's selling or managing relationships, this is where we should be spending our time. It's the high leverage, high ROI functions that are going to deliver gains to our business versus things like data management. And that could take many different shapes, sizes, and flavors, whether it's selling the latest and greatest new software product, like we are at Troops, or service, to discussing potential upsell opportunities with your team, or how to prevent churn, and discussing retention. Whether it is pitching for the latest and greatest round of financing from investors, or investors seeking the hottest deals, all of this is the same. It's how do we manage our customer relationships so that we can sell, close deals, and move our business forward. Instead of doing this, nobody wants to be staring at a computer all day long, simply entering information for the sake of admin and tracking. It should look more like this. It should be more conversational. It should feel more human. We are finally at a point in time where software can now adapt to humans versus humans having to adapt to software. Or it should look like this. Siri, what's the weather? What was the score of the Giants game who lost last night, which is incredibly disappointing to me? So how do we get there? Well, Max mentioned a bunch of buzzwords that we've all heard about and will continue to hear about, and let's just recap those for a little bit. We'll play a buzzword game. So we have machine learning, natural language or natural language processing. We have artificial intelligence. More obvious, we have data mining. And probably our favorite at Troops is bots. So what do they mean to us? Researchers analyzed data from the McKinsey Global Institute, and they looked at the automatability of 2,000 different workplace activities and found that 40% of time spent on sales activities, 40%, can be automated by adapting current technologies. And they found that as technology advances, this will go up to 47%. In other words, half of our work can and will be automated. High-frequency functions that don't require our day-to-day, minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour work. What kinds of work? So I'm sure many of you in this room at one point in your life or professional career have had to do lead generation, smiling and dialing. And this is a very important function. And the old way of doing things, and I'm sure at one point or another we've all done this, we would have a spreadsheet, and we would list all of the people that we want to contact after research. Maybe we rank them. We would include their email address, and maybe if we were sharing this with the team, we would include who owns that account, who's responsible for reaching out. And this is an incredibly tedious process. And so if you think about that, the average sales development rep makes 52 calls daily, 52 calls. If they're not prioritizing those leads effectively, they're just completely wasting their time and will not move the ball forward for their business. So what's the new way of doing this? There's plenty of companies out there today, different technologies, that will use different variables, attributes, enrich these data sets, and then rank and score them on your behalf. This is huge. All of a sudden, you no longer need to do that work of manually going line by line in a spreadsheet. You have machines that are doing that tedious workflow for you and making your job easier. So when it comes to lead generation, I encourage you all to take a look at other new ways that you can enrich the data sets that you have and rank those data sets in an automated way so that you don't have to or dedicate a person on your team to do this for you. Let's take another example. I know we've all been here before, but scheduling. This is also a huge time suck. And this is what it typically looked like. I would send an email to a few people. Hey, Scott and Paul, are you guys free at 3 o'clock on Thursday? Scott says yes, Paul says no, but I can do Friday. Great, what about Friday at 2 o'clock? Paul says yes, Scott says no again. What about Monday? And this process repeats itself. And research has found that for 6 to 8 participants in a business setting, there are about 12 to 16 different iterations on scheduling this meeting, which typically yields about 20 to 25 minutes lost in time. And if you are working on a larger deal, whether it's a private dinner or a larger team meeting, that could be upwards to 10 to 15 different iterations and anywhere from 46 to 50 minutes spent just scheduling. If you're in sales or customer success, this is not where you should be spending your time. There are now new technologies and companies out there that have built automation and technology specifically dedicated to doing this for you. Instead of me having to go back and forth with multiple people, there will literally be a bot that can read the emails, look like a human, and on the back end go ahead and schedule my meetings. And why this is exciting is it has context of my calendar, and over time, many of these bots will be able to speak to other bots. And the process will get easier, and you will have time back in your day to focus on the higher function activities. So for all of you, I would encourage you to think about what are ways that I could automate my scheduling so I can focus on my job in a more meaningful way. Let's take another use case. We call them rescue bots. As you guys know, one of the most critical parts about doing sales is being pleasantly persistent. It's following up when you have to so that you can move a deal forward. Again, today, this is how many people do this. I'm guilty, and I know that we've all been there before. You might have a spreadsheet that lists all of your accounts and customers. You might include their title. Maybe you include some notes. And maybe you might go as far as to include when was the last time you contacted them. Right? It's just a much easier way to get access to this information. Well, 44% of salespeople give up after one follow-up. 44% just give up. The average salesperson only makes 2 attempts to reach a prospect. And now research is showing that 35 to 50% of sales go to the vendor that responds first. And so if you think about all these things together, you realize how critically important it is to follow up. Well, good news. There are also great advancements, technologies, and companies that are focused specifically on this category. How do we ensure that there are frequent follow-ups in an automated fashion? At Troops, we've seen many companies, in fact, shift their whole sales development rep team from 10 to 15 people down to 2 to 3 people because they now are using technology to let one person look like 5 or 10. The follow-up is automated. And let's look at yet one more. So, don't drop the ball. This is incredibly important. And let's look at one more, and this is really, really big for us at Troops. Data entry. We all know this. We're all here because of Salesforce. Amazing product, amazing software. It houses all this complex information. But as you know, this can get very tedious at times. Having said that, we have to do this. It is literally impossible to run a business if you don't know what's happening. You're flying blind, you don't know what deals are in the pipeline, you don't know what the revenue forecast looks like, you have no predictability over your business without having this information. And over 20% of sales professionals agree. They cited manual data entry is their top CRM challenge. How many of you by show of hands, how many of you love to enter data into Salesforce? No one's hands up, fantastic, I agree. This is a big problem, and it's a time waste. But what if it looked like this? And this is how we think about the world at Troops. What if you had a conversational CRM or a digital assistant that can look at all the underlying data and realize, it looks like Scott has a deal that's going to close in 4 days, but he hasn't emailed them in 90 days. And in that world, technology will be able to proactively reach out to you, let you know that there is an issue, and make it dead simple for you to change that close date. So that all of a sudden you look more diligent on your team, you have better predictability and forecasting in your business, and everybody is happier. So this is what we believe. We believe that conversational CRM or digital assistants are here, and they're coming in a more meaningful way. As I mentioned earlier, finally, software is now catching up to humans versus us having to learn old and antiquated software. And when that happens, we will all be more effective, we will all be happier, and our businesses will be healthier. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Yeah? Awesome. I'm Fallon. I'm the CEO of Node, which is the first account-based intelligence platform where we help you understand your total addressable market and execute on it effectively at scale. A little bit of background so you understand the lens in which I'm looking at the world. I was the youngest employee at Google, was there for 6 years. I've spent over a decade building strategic partnerships and helping organizations with global expansion into new markets and increasing market share in existing markets. And I write a column in Forbes on company building in Silicon Valley. So I want to talk about this dream that has existed for over a decade in the sales and marketing world called the one-to-one sales and marketing. And what this means is organizations actually understand who the people are they should sell or market to at the right companies and actually know the right message so they can approach them in a personalized way. Now, this is still a dream because the information about people and companies hasn't been organized in such a way that this has even been possible. And so what organizations are doing to date is they're purchasing incomplete lists of information, really guessing at what their market is. They might use a predictive tool to rank that list or rank those leads to prioritize them better. And then they might use an action system to spray and pray and essentially hope that the right people end up coming and purchasing their product. And what this results in is organizations spending hundreds of thousands of dollars per year purchasing each one of these individual point solutions of data vendors, predictive and action systems. And at the end of the day, they're only succeeding 20% of the time. Because 80% of the time, they're talking to the wrong companies, the wrong people, at the wrong time, and with the wrong message. And there is a beautiful paradigm shift that is happening right now in the sales and marketing world called account-based marketing and sales, where sales and marketing are coming together at the same table and saying, maybe we should rethink this volume approach, and let's work together to identify the optimal set of people and companies and approach them in a personalized way. And by optimal, the promise here is that you're going to focus on organizations that will actually drive not just more revenue faster, but better revenue, higher deal sizes, higher win rates, and shorter sales cycle times. But in order for this approach to be effective and to scale, you need a fundamentally different data intelligence solution than what's been used for the last decade. So with all these resources and all these point solutions that organizations are piecing together to create their own Frankenstack, why aren't we there yet? So in order to understand the answer to that question, we need to actually look at the history of the web and the structure of the web. So the last 10 years has been all about finding the right information through search. And Google obviously solved that not only by indexing all the web pages, but actually understanding the relationships between the web pages are just as valuable as the keywords on them, which is why Google is so useful today when you know what you're looking for. It helps you find that information pretty effectively. But in this day and age, there is more information created in a single day than you could possibly absorb in a lifetime. I mean, think about that for a minute. 90% of the information on the web was created in the last 2 years. That means there's information being created right now that's really relevant to all of us in this room that we don't know we should be searching for. Whether it's people, whether it's companies, whether it's your next customers, hires, job opportunities. And so at the end of the day, how do we solve this massive discovery problem? And in order to solve that problem, we almost have to reorganize all of the information on the web based on every individual that's interacting with it. And so what does that actually mean? Well, if you take a look at the web today, it's organized in terms of web pages and keywords. And you and I and all the really important entities like people and companies are treated as metadata today. And we find that information when we know what we're looking for through search. Now, the way to actually solve this discovery problem is to, instead of looking at the web in terms of web pages and keywords, we have to reorganize all that information based on the entities within those web pages, building profiles on all of the people and companies on the web, understanding who they are, what they care about, and how they're connected to each other. Basically taking the web and turning it into a massive graph of relationships that are constantly changing, distilling all of that down based on what's most relevant to you, showing it to you, and telling you what to do with it. The implications of this is that in the future, you're not going to need to search because recommendations for your next customers, hires, job opportunities will happen automatically at the right time in whatever application you're in, because in the future, applications will understand what your organization cares about and what you care about, and will distill all of that information accordingly. And so what's the technology that's required to make this dream and to really solve this discovery problem at scale? And the answer is there is no silver bullet. There is no one technology that will solve this problem. It's utilizing a number of different technologies and using them as tools to help organize all of the information that exists, make sense of it, and then provide really relevant recommendations to you. And so that involves data crawling to know where to crawl. That involves natural language processing to extract meaning from that unstructured data. That involves machine learning and artificial intelligence and neural networks to help then make sense of it and actually scale recommendations in a personalized way. So let's dig into data crawling and natural language processing. So in all of us being able to read an article like this on the web, it's really easy for us to understand what this article is talking about. We can understand that Evernote's CEO might have a negative sentiment towards Siri and wearables. We understand Siri is a product that's owned by Apple, that wearables maybe relate to the IoT industry. And there's a number of other kind of relationships that we can understand and we can connect the dots through using our incredible brains. Now, for a machine to be able to make sense of this, it requires us training those machines and using natural language processing to be able to learn and understand and extrapolate all of these connections at scale. And so what natural language processing can help us with is understanding that not only this entire article is discussing Evernote, but that Evernote is a company, and that the CEO is mentioned here as well, and that the wearable industry is possibly related to, or the wearables is related to the IoT industry, and that there's negative sentiment in this article, and so on. So machine learning and artificial intelligence, real buzzwords today. Again, at the end of the day, these are tools that actually require a massive data set, training set of information to be truly effective and to scale. And once you extract meaning, and you've trained your machines to go and extract meaning at scale, machine learning and artificial intelligence can be helpful tools to build models around that can actually scale recommendations in a personalized way and actually learn from them. We know machine learning and AI and have heard about it in the sales and marketing world in the predictive marketing space. And while predictive tools are really helpful today at ranking the existing data within your CRM and prioritizing that information, at the end of the day, it's not enough. And the reason why is it's really hard to predict your next customer if the machines don't actually understand the world of potential customers, essentially your total addressable market. And so the next phase of predictive will be prescriptive, where not only will these systems be able to look at where you've succeeded, where you've been, but we'll be able to actually prescribe where the next areas of opportunity are for your business, even if you have zero revenue in those locations, industries, technologies, et cetera. And it'll actually factor in not just your information, but what's going on in the real world and how those dynamics are changing. So all of this technology can help shift the conventional selling world today into almost a contextual selling world, where sales and marketing can work together to focus on the right companies, the right people at those companies, to talk to them at the right time, and have the right message. That's it.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's Drew, and I'm from Crystal. And I just want to get a better idea for the audience. So I'm going to ask two questions. I'm going to ask you to raise either your right or left hand. So if you have received any cold emails in the last week, just raise your right hand. Okay. Now, if you've responded, well, keep it up, keep it up. If you've responded to every one of those cold emails, put your hand down. Okay. And just one more. If you have sent any cold emails and you're waiting on a response, raise your left hand. Okay, so there's a lot, I see a lot of, like, you can put them down. I see a lot of right and left hands. And that's a lot of failed connections. Whether you want to call it rejection or, yeah, a failed connection, a misconnection, for those fans of Craigslist. People that are trying to connect with you, or you trying to connect with somebody else, and it just didn't work for whatever reason. So this is a real problem, and it's becoming an increasing problem as we get more and more emails. We saw the big lists of the in-mails and the bad and ugly examples. I know I receive a lot of them. I probably sent a lot of them myself. And what we're trying to do at Crystal is figure out how to solve that problem. Because in those failed connections doesn't mean that there couldn't have been value in that business relationship. And if you're reaching out in the first place, you probably could add value. So luckily, most of the people that work at Crystal have been thinking about this for a lot longer, because we're mostly guys who stayed at home on Friday nights in high school trying to develop formulas to get girlfriends. So we developed this thing called the empathy equation, which is really simple, and it's what our thinking is built on. So what I'm going to try to do is narrow in and focus on part of it to see if we can just talk through how to win customers and or build relationships, win trust, and get more customers in a really skeptical world. So let's talk about those relationships. Chemistry is something that we just put a label on when you click with someone. Some people just click, and when it's there, you know it, and when it's not there, you also know it. And in business, it's really hard to get something done. So let's think about every time this happens. When you send an email, or you try to call someone, or you just start to initiate a connection, and for some reason it's just not working. The empathy equation says that it's either you don't know what they want, you don't know why they want to take action, or you don't really know how they want to communicate. Just for these 10 minutes, I just want to focus on the last part, is the how. Because that's really key in getting someone's attention in the first place, so you actually have a door open to get into the why and the what. This is called DISC. How many people know what DISC is already? Okay, so about half the room, I think. This is a behavioral model. It's not it's not the most complex thing in the world. It basically is just a way to group people according to how they behave. It's not really a personality type because it's not about how you think. It's just a tool to understand people through the lens of how they communicate and behave. So salespeople in general tend to skew towards the top. They either have lots of D or lots of I in them. That's, assertive and driving. On the I side, it's people that tend to be really outgoing and comfortable speaking in front of people. And on the flip side of this, those same people that are high on the top tend to have a lot of trouble communicating with people on the bottom. I'm going to get a little bit more into this. But those tend to be the ones that are going to make us do our homework and ask really hard questions and not be comfortable with change and want predictability and all of these things that are really obstacles and frequent roadblocks that salespeople run up against. So basically, the whole premise of this thing and the reason why I'm talking here is because these differences between people, if you accept the fact that you can actually predict behavior according to a framework like DISC, it's very, very valuable to know who somebody is. And it's very hard to know that if you don't already know the person. You either have to have them take a test, which is possible if you're onboarding at a job. You might have done this yourself and understood your DISC type from taking a test. Or you just need to know them well enough to know. So if you have been working with somebody or you've been selling to somebody for a long time, you can understand this. Someone is very high C. They're very logical, analytical, and they're going to be the type of person that I just really need to present data and facts to. But this is not going to, this is not the only two ways that you can understand someone's DISC type now. And the reason that Crystal exists is because we've reached the point, and I think what all of us have alluded to now, is that there's enough data out there to analyze and help predict these decisions for us. So when you put DISC together with machine learning and natural language processing and abundant public data, it gives you the power to understand anyone on that base level with a reasonable degree of confidence. So I just want to go through a little bit into what that looks like and to how it can help you communicate better. So I actually, being the socially awkward engineer I am, I've never met any of the panelists, and I wanted to prepare for this, this whole event a little bit better, so I wanted to understand how each of them communicated. So I ran them through Crystal, and I don't think I actually showed you guys any of these. But this is the process. So I want to find out, all right, I'm going to talk to Max. He's very high on that ID. So, and you guys can tell me if this is wrong or right. Okay, so he's the kind of person that I'm going to want to push on the excitement. I want to not get into the details with him. He's going to care about high impact, things to happen quickly, and to get right to the point in a conversation and to really, really focus on the future of it. Fallon is apparently very similar, except a little bit more C, being a little more logical, so I should do my homework, but in general, if I'm going to have a conversation, I should focus on the future, focus on excitement, and how we can make the biggest impact with whatever action we're trying to take. Dan is a little bit different, according to this analysis. He's more of that C type, which, if you're in sales, is one of the hardest types to sell to, like I kind of already said. So if this is, let's say he's a primary C, that means going to a conversation, I should not go in straight with a bold claim and just say that my thing is the best in the world and it's going to increase your revenue 100%, and we're going to ignore the details of how that's going to work because this is really, really great, and look at our website and look at our video, it's wonderful. I'm going to have to go in probably with some more details and some specific reasons why we're doing this, and evidence of this working in the past, and just anything to satisfy that intellectual curiosity that comes with the natural C. So that's like the broad overview of DISC and how you can use this in sales. But you can even go deeper into very specific situations into how to use this kind of information to communicate with empathy and then actually sell more so it improves numbers. The three that we are focused on right now at Crystal are high response cold emails, so increasing engagement or response rate or click-through, whatever that number is that you're trying to improve. It's to help people anticipate the obstacles that they're going to run into in the sales process. So as you're going through the funnel, some people really run up against lack of predictability. Others really run up against the fact that they need some group buy-in. They need to cooperate and make sure everybody on their team is okay with it, and that really affects the sales process. And the third is accelerating trust over time. So as you develop a relationship with somebody, how do you keep building rapport with them? How do you not lose their trust? How do you continue to get closer with them as a person to create not just a customer, but an ally? So this is also, if we look at it through that lens, and this would be talking about like building trust, I'm not just looking at myself. I also don't just have to look at the other person. We can put those together. And this is where the real power and why I'm in this space and so excited about it is because everyone in this room has a personality or a behavioral style. And chances are you don't know many of them. If you did know them, you'd understand the little idiosyncrasies that you have in your relationship, but you'd understand how each person responds and your chemistry, if you want to call it that. But you don't know it now. The reason why this is so exciting is because with the abundance of data and the ability to analyze it, we can predict how any one of you in the room are going to communicate and behave with a reasonable degree of accuracy, confidence, even if you've never met each other. So just think about the possibilities for that, and that's what makes me really excited about this. So if you look at giving that to a salesperson, and this is what we've tried to do, just to prove that this actually has legs and it's not just some kind of horoscope, black box, black magic thing, that I'm peddling. We've actually tried to segment emails as like our first big product. Send out different email variations according to different communication styles. So if Max was sending one to each of these characters, who I've matched up with their disk type because I found that the office is probably the best way to explain disk. He can, even just as a D or an I, Max could send emails to each of these people in their communication style and get an increase of engagement. So we've been doing this ourselves. We kind of eat our own dog food. We right now see about at least a 25% bump in each personality type when we send email variations out. And this is just focusing on the how. So it's just how you present the email. Nothing to do with the what or the why part of this equation. And then we've been doing pilots with other customers. I think LinkedIn is one that saw a pretty big boost in engagement and $17,000 in initial boost in business from it right away. So, I mean, this is the overall idea. It's that if you have a personality style or a behavioral type, you don't have to be constrained to that to only get along and only sell to people that you naturally, vibe with. You can adjust and use the data at your fingertips and the analysis that you can do to adjust your communication style, connect with more people that you wouldn't ordinarily connect with right away, sell more, win more trust, and create more allies. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks, guys. That was extra impressive, actually, because the next slide is 2 slides forward. So good job, guys, in dealing with that. So yeah, I'm a geek. I love this stuff. I look for any way to get a competitive advantage in everything that I'm doing, and especially in sales. If there's a way that you don't have to log into a bunch of different apps to get them all to work together, I'm going to take that advantage. If there's a way I can go scrape the web and find out what people are talking about and organize that information, find out my ideal customer profile, what they're talking about, I'll take that advantage. If there's a way that I can go in and know this person that I'm speaking to in a different way that I can get from any information on the web that's freely available to me, I'll take that advantage. I'll save that time and get ahead in my deal. So that's why I geek out on this stuff so much. Technology is your competitive advantage. And we have a little bit of time for questions if anybody has any. I think there's some microphones in the hallway, so just, if you'd like, grab a seat or stand behind the mic, and doesn't look like we have any questions. So thank you so much, guys. That was awesome.